Truth Bombers Podcast.
Truth Bombers Podcast.
The group chat turned podcast with your hosts, Russ, Lockie, and BJ.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
You're back, mate. How was the fishing trip?
Didn't get much.
Catch a cold?
Leaving the old fishing department today.
Just donated a bit of some tackle and some bait.
An expensive tackle lost, yes.
Oh, well. Did you watch the footy while you were out there?
No, surprisingly, I didn't watch footy when I was fishing.
Good game. Just finished up between the Maggies and the D's.
I almost went the Maggies. I don't know. After everything that happened during the week, I'm sure they can't lose 3 in a row, though.
Yeah, and they did.
They did, yeah.
It's kind of nice to see the wheels falling off other teams as opposed to just us. Although I'd take a premiership and then have the wheels fall off the next season.
I just don't think that, I know everyone harps on about how they're so good, but last year they did the same thing. I never thought they were that dominant team. They lost, in the last 5 games last year, lost 3 of them. I don't know. And I don't think they're that dominant team everyone thinks they are.
Well, they're better than us. Just the two of us tonight, mate. No cluckers this evening.
I'll try to remember the game after being at the pub and having a few bevs.
It was nice to be back at the pub and have a few straight from the nice cold bar. It's been a while.
Well, it's this time last year.
Yeah, well, I think it was it Bombers and D's or at the Prince last year in between lockdowns?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, as bad as lockdowns were, they feel as long ago now as the last time we were good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And funny what you should say about wanting to be Collingwood, because it's you watch Collingwood and you're watching Carlton now, and it's just fucking hell. But yeah, watching Carlton decently closely on Friday night. I think getting into the game, if we could start with the good, I think a lot of the pre-game, maybe the best thing that we did to Carlton fans was make them sit through all our 150th year celebration before the start of the game. Sucked in, watch it, enjoy it, embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do we start the good?
I'll start the good. Our average points against has dropped in the last 3 weeks from over 100 down to 70.
That is extremely good comparing to where we started from the start of the season. Those blowouts, everything, those junk time goals that would just push out. It's good to see in a defense that we know is young and fragile.
That it's coming along. I wonder if that's got anything to do with moving Heppel out of the back 6 and onto the wing and just keeping him out of the way. One of the things I read on...
Reid did a good job too, I think. He's taken on some of the bigger defenders. He's, they're giving him a bit more responsibility on, who being put on Mackay last week. He had some time on Buddy. I think he's slowly progressing really well with it. He's no standout star, but I think for someone that's played a handful of games, he's really progressing well.
That we controlled a big part of that game on Friday. We just could not convert or capitalize on the time that we did have in control, and it just felt as good, as improved as our back 6 has been. They're still nervous. Every time Carlton went, how many free kicks did we give away? Every time Carlton went forward, for a hold or just getting nervous, getting caught out, inexperience, just shining through. And it's been kind of that same MO all year where we have to work so hard for every goal or scoring opportunity that we get. And then we give away 3 or 4 or 5, in a game where Carlton only kicked 12, only one more scoring shot, we've given away 4 or 5 shots within 20 meters of goals from not much angle.
I think it comes down to the midfield and how much the transition from forward to defense and how easy it is to go through our corridor and the turnover pressure. Those guys in the back 6 are just always under pressure from it just rebounding so fast. As much as I wasn't confident in the defense going into this season, and still not 100% convinced that it's a solid defense. Like, I've got to give it to them. Like, they're under so much pressure every week because we rebound the ball so fast. They're always under pressure constantly.
We would have said to Reed, hey, listen, fuck the zone. Just go and stand next to Harry Mackay. Like Mackay and Curnow had too many like uncontested marks in forward 50. Like, there's no way you leave those two guys like out the back of the zone. Just go stand next to them,
Yeah.
That cost us a lot. I mean, like I said, in the end, like 7-12 to 12-8, we only had one less scoring shot there, if we converted a couple in the end, the last quarter, third quarter as well, like all of a sudden that's, game on and we've got a sniff and then who knows, but we're just kicking ourselves out of games every week.
Yeah, you know what? I know we start on the good, but we easily just go straight to the bad. But, the fact that we were, the big rev up before the game, it was a full week of getting the boys up and getting them motivated. And you can tell, like, from the bounce, that first quarter, it was on. Like, it was a different kind of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We had nothing to gain from it. Like, the tackles were right up. I think we got 60 plus tackles, almost 70 tackles or something. And then, the pressure was on. They were hungry for the ball. And it was good to see. We still lost the quarter. And then the second quarter came on. They lost that bit. They forgot about the hunger. Then by the second half, which is the normal game.
So we won tackles 75-55, which has been one of our better tackling performances for the year. And we had 18 tackles inside our forward 50. So like both of those are very, very good things that we're at least starting to see. We're starting to put that effort in. We don't have the ball. We're starting to do something with it. But the other stat that we've been looking at a lot this year in terms of uncontested possession, 184 to Essendon to 242. Like that's like a 63, odd smashing, drubbing, right? Of contested possession. Like that's the game, getting the hard ball. And we just like aren't interested necessarily in getting that hard ball, it seems.
Yeah. It's like we sort of said the last few weeks when we've won these critical stats and we're still losing. It's like our best is still not good enough to win games. Like no matter how much, we fought the guys early in the season for not giving enough effort. They're now giving enough effort and they're still losing. It's like,
Rather lose because we're not capitalizing. Like we've known our forward line is going to be pretty like short stock this year. Like I'd rather lose, but be winning these effort metrics and just be like, fuck, we just need to clean up that last bit of the game than just to be getting blown across the park on all fronts. Look, I thought for a couple of goods, my boy Flip, like we've smashed hit outs 43-26, center clearances 13-8. Like again, it's just those like, it's not that we're not getting the ball. The thing about Flip too, which I liked, you can see him quite a few times. I watched the replay on Saturday afternoon. He's he's not getting a ton of the ball in terms of disposal, but like his tap work is so good and he's giving our mids first use of it. But then as you see him moving forward, his directive talk has been quite good as well, especially towards those younger guys. Now he's a guy that's like, I think he's only played 100 games, but he's been in the system for like 12 years,
Yeah.
So like he does have that experience. And for someone who like was only given 1 year this year, I think he's already done more than enough to get himself at least another year next year. And I think that part of the reason we're not getting drubbed these last few weeks is purely because Phillips is playing. I think he's so underrated still.
Yeah, we've seen a massive difference since he's come back in the frame. I'm glad that they've trusted him over Brian for sure. And I think it frees up Draper a little bit. He's still young. We know he's the future. Draper's, we forget he's like played like 23 games.
So I give you
can't rely on him.
Phillips, 6 disposals, 6 kicks, 9 tackles, second highest tackle count on the ground from the right.
I saw he had quite a few tackles, and for a big man, that's a huge stat.
He follows up his own tap work. He's a gunner. Yeah. Right. Speaking of tackle count, got to give it to Dylan Shield. Like we've been writing him all year about underperforming. He's come out, I reckon, best on ground, at least for us, 27 touches, a lot of handballs, 9 kicks, 18 handballs. So 2-to-1 handballs to kicks. 10 tackles, right? So again, at
Yeah.
least he is like, if he's getting beaten to the ball, he's doing something with it. Probably the other good that I quite liked from Dylan Shield as well. Did you see that interview he gave after the game?
No, I think it was at the.
Just like, I'll send it to you, but just a very like heartfelt like disappointment, like to go out there and sort of say, just like, they're like, oh, you played a good game. And he's like, yeah, but when you play a good game and you lose the game, like who cares? Like it doesn't mean anything playing a good game when you lose,
It's a heart I think we've been missing.
Yeah.
And we keep saying, it's like, Heppel wants to smile and shit. And it's like, keep our spirits up. No, I want to see them actually hurt. I want to see it actually mean something to them.
Yeah, and that's what I think we finally saw from Dylan Shield. What'd you make of Heppel's like little pre-game?
Yeah, look, it's I know no one knows what's actually said. Even no one's actually saying what was said, and it's like, oh no, it was a moment thing, and we're not going to share what was actually said. And even Matthew Lloyd on the Sunday Footy Show was like, went out and was like, no, didn't say the full thing. But he's like, I was proud of the speech. But to me, as an outsider looking in, and if I was in the same situation, when you have someone that's so not that kind of player or not that kind of motivator to come out and grab the jumper and get in your face and sort of get that passionate yell in, get up sort of speech, it seems staged to me. And it seemed like a drama performance rather than, this is 150. Yeah. If Hodgie came out and you saw that performance, like, fuck that. That'd be, how inspirational would that be? But when you see a bloke that's not that kind of bloke all the time or ever, and just so laid back, and to see that, it looks a bit forced. And if I was a type of person, we know there's been divides in there, in the group of, how they see his leadership. If someone all of a sudden you started one of those speeches, but like, just give it a rest, mate. Like, it's a bit much.
It's almost been this year that it's like, man, all we do is talk, and it's always the same messaging, but it's not converting into action on the field. So maybe it's time to do less talking and more showing,
What did you think then? Did you think, for me, to sum it up, it looked like a drama performance that he rehearsed in the mirror. Like, I'm going to rev them up by doing this, and I've seen other people do that.
I thought the good that came out of that celebration was like more monumental to do with like James Hird coming back to the club, and I was watching that start of the game being like, fuck, like you just give him a jumper, give Scott Lucas a jumper. I bet your Wanganeen can still play. Like half those blokes, like you think back to when they were playing, and you just wonder, like, yeah, we were better against Carlton, but not great. And you just sort of think like even our 150th year celebration with all these legends of the club, like if that just can't get us up and about and over the line, like I think at one point we were sitting at the pub watching, and they flicked the camera up to like where the Essendon greats were supposed to be sitting watching the game, and there's like empty seats. It's like they just fucking gone.
Yeah, they showed it the first quarter, and you look, the first quarter, you could tell the boys were fucking up for a fight. It lasted one quarter. And that first quarter, they panned up to the legends where they're all sitting and they're all having a beer and they're all cheering. They showed them at 3/4 time. Only Kevin Sheedy was there. The rest of the stand was empty. Yeah. Like, if you can't even get the legends to stay there for 3 quarters with your effort, we're in real big trouble.
I'll give other shout-out goods to blokes like Perko and Hobbs. I thought both like in the middle, like got stuck in, did some good things. Harry Jones kicking 2 goals, like in conditions that really don't suit his game. Like I thought, like I think there is generally a lot of good, but oh man, like we get to the bad and there's just so much more. Like I think what happens or why you have doubts about Heppel's speech is because of like the game that then he goes on to play. And it's just becoming like, every time he gets the ball, and it's probably the pressure that's mounting and everything else, so like he's just making terrible decisions, or he's fumbling, or he's just a step away or off, or like there's a lot, and you hear it, there's a lot of people being like, I think it was Chad Corns that came this year, like surely like Heppel knows the writing's on the wall that this is his last year. And we sort of spoke about this in the last episode of the podcast of McGrath's contract, really like is Heppel's extension or Heppel's deal really relying on what McGrath decides to do. But I read on Facebook someone that was like, they wrote like, when was the last time that your biggest list clogger was your captain? And that's essentially like what I feel like it's coming to do. Like we're throwing him around everywhere to try to keep him on the park, but like to almost hide him, like, you know what I mean? To like keep him there, but kind of like on the wing, it's like he's not really responsible for anyone down back, and he can kind of push both ways and run, but he has to be injured. Like he has to be, whatever the injury was that was plaguing him before last year, it has to be back, and he has to just be like, we can't afford to lose another 200 games experience on the park right now, surely.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I can't even remember the last time. I honestly can't remember the last time it was decent. Like I know we had a bit of a purple patch last year where he, was playing some good footy. We're talking 5 games there. For most of the season, he was pretty awful. And he kind of pulled it together the back end of last year. And I've been a big component of we need leadership in there, but I just don't see the leadership in there anymore. I don't see him leading the guys anymore. I don't see us being a better team when he's in the team.
You can't have a club divided, I think, ultimately. And maybe that's some of the chats that occur in the offseason next year, is getting the playing group to actually elect who they want, and almost having it until it's a unanimous decision. Like you keep kind of going back to the drawing board until we all get on and support one particular name or one particular bloke that we want to lead,
Yeah. All right. What about big boy Stringer? Geez, he came back sick, and he had a nightmare of a game. He didn't have one decent touch, I don't think, for the whole game.
He was definitely a step behind. Like he was hard at the ball when it was near him, but he wasn't really willing to overly work to get involved in the contest further up the ground and get himself involved in the game. Everyone's like, he looks unfit. Yeah, he's unfit. He's been on fucking out injured with a fucking hamstring the whole year, and we just keep rushing him back. Like once he gets through one training session, like of course he's not fit,
But apparently he would have been fit last week. So if that's an extra week, but it's worrying that he gets so out of shape so fast.
Well,
I've never seen other guys come back from, there's people that have 12 weeks off. Whenever he has more than sort of a 4-week block off, he comes back real big, which means he's not keeping to his program.
I know. And so I guess that's the conversation you have. It was like, maybe he did just want to sign that 4-year deal and be like,
yeah,
paid. And this is a conversation I have with Lockie a lot. Like, who would you take, Stringer or De Goey? And it's been De Goey for good for me. And Lockie's always like, Stringer. I'm like, Stringer played out of his skin last year for sure, like the back half of last season. But it's like, but that's it. How long's he been at the club? He's got another 3 years. I think we've seen the best of him. I don't know that he gets back there, blame the hamstring or not, but like you said, it's kind of like a mindset. Like, it's like when he gets injured, he's like, fuck it. And it's like, I'm not even going to do the things that I can do in order to keep myself in the best shape possible until this injury resolves. It's just like I'm either at 100% or I'm like not even thereabout. And you can tell that he wasn't in a position to set the game on fire like he was doing last year. But maybe the expectation again on him is like we expect him to go in the center bounce and win every clearance. Like he was freakish last year, and that's all of a sudden you go to having that as a baseline expectation of what he should be doing every week. But I think the reason that I would always go to goalie is like, has his up and downs, but he keeps himself in a condition that he's on the park. And as long as he's on the park, he's in a position where he can turn a game on his own boot,
I agree with you, the expectation things. And I think that sums up where we've been as a footy club or as supporters of the footy club for the whole year, is these expectations. We expect a lot from, just expect Tipper to come back and light it up and be the same. We expected, the X factor of Stringer every week. And we expected people like Caldwell to be like, all right, now he's had a few games, he's going to be an elite midfielder only. He's had 20 games. So I think we have overplayed some of the cards. But when it comes to Stringer especially, he's got a track record of coming back not in the best position to light up the field. And to hear him talk the start of this year on a podcast and say there was a reason why he hasn't been lighting it up, and it was a fitness thing and it was an attitude thing, I thought that had changed this year. But getting injured and coming back in the shape he's come back in. Again, it's not the first time it's happened. And the fact I thought he was over that, then it's happened again. Yeah, you start having your doubts long term.
This is like part of the conversations we're continually having is that there seems to be no one at the club that's willing to have hard conversations. And this is the thing with Stringer is that it's not like he goes away for 7 weeks and then comes back.
Yeah.
And like, whoa, bro, like, what have you been doing? It's like he surely is going into the club still every week. And at some point, someone has to say to him, hey, mate, you're not ticking the boxes here of your rehab program. Or like, hey, there's a bunch of shit that you could be doing that you're not doing. Why aren't you doing it? Like, there's no one, we don't have that culture of like excellence or high performance. It's just like a pat on the back. Yeah, do your best. Like mediocrity is okay and it's acceptable. That's why we're fucking where we are. Like look at Melbourne with the Stephen May thing or Freo with like the Fredericks thing. It's like you broke a team rule, you dropped. Like that's it. Like done. Doesn't matter how good you are or how crucial, how many games it costs us in the short term. Like we're gonna hold the standards. We don't even drop players to the VFL. We just make them medi-sub. Like that's how scared of having tough conversations we are. Like we've gone so far towards this like be your authentic self that it's almost like you're not allowed to be in any way, shape, or form critical, or that critical feedback can be seen in a positive light. Pendulum's gone too far the other way, and that's why we're sitting in where we're sitting, right? And we have a culture of like not giving a shit and not giving full effort because it's been accepted by players who are in leadership roles for so long this year.
Yeah, we needed a 150-year anniversary, a fake rev-up speech, and a week of preparation to get 1 quarter of hard football out of the boys. Get a quarter of football that is acceptable in effort, I think, week after week. That's what it took to get 1 quarter. And they couldn't even sustain it for the full 4 quarters.
I've got another bad for you.
Yeah.
I'm saying it. Peter Wright has absolutely
3 weeks.
Missing. Yeah. Had couple of decent marks. Did he kick 1 point or one poster? I think he had
0-2. I think he kicked in the end, but he's 3 weeks, and you know what? 1 week I love him, the next week I can't. I can hate him. It's like at the start of the season, I was like, I was pretty critical. I'm like, I didn't think he could be that guy, but he started putting some games together and stringing some games together. I was like, maybe it is the fact that we don't play him last man back and we'll sort of mix him up in the ruck. And, he's had games now for the last 3 weeks where he's been that full forward target. And he's got no excuse. He wasn't running up to do ruck relief. Conditions are pretty good. They don't run a tall back line. That should have been his game. Like, if you're not kicking goals in a defense that's completely ravaged, in the 150th game, I don't know. I'm worried. Three games now he hasn't scored a goal.
I also thought that like Waterman as the sub was just like a bad call. And at the end of the day, when it ended up being Parrish that came off, which is like another bad great of all the players to go down. Now Parrish has done a calf. Waterman in, Parrish out is not a like for like substitution. At least like with a Wanganeen, someone who's like fresh and quick and has an engine, like fucking throw him in the guts and see what happens. Get him around the contest forward 50 and see what happens. Right? We don't need another lead up forward target when we've got Peter Wright, Harry Jones, like Wolfie, those kind of blokes all in the front line. Like Waterman is just like, okay, now we're clogging forward. So I thought that was another very average. And fuck, man, like Zach Merritt is one of the best field kicks in the competition, but once he has to kick that ball through sticks that are 10 feet apart, like it's like he's trying to hit a dime from 50 meters away, like he's just a terrible shot for goal,
Yeah. Yeah, like a lot of our midfielders. Can we talk about how unclean we are off the football too? Like, Jesus Christ, like, how hard is it to pick up a football, like in perfect conditions? We seem to bobble it minimum 3 times before we can pick up a football. Yeah. And then you see the Carlton blokes some of them with one hand picking the ball up and then going forward with the football. We're so bad below our knees at the moment, especially in the forward line.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we keep going? More bads?
Yeah, there's a few more. Geez, what?
Dyson Heppel turnovers. This is from Bill. Bill always gives me his little synopsis after the game. Heppel turnovers result directly in 3 to 4 opposition goals every game, and he got exposed badly the other night playing further up the ground. It's fucking true, man.
Yeah.
He's fumbly and bumbly, and we cannot keep hiding him. And as Cooney said, like, I think the writing's on the wall. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe if we flick back to the good, the VFL team, like D'Ambrosio supposedly lit it up with 32 touches. He's back off a shoulder injury that was supposed to be keeping him out for a little while. Jai Menzies chimed in with like a couple of goals up forward. They're playing Stewart up forward. He's kicked like 2 or 3. You left me on my own, you dog. Yeah. James Stewart's playing up forward. He's kicked 3. So it's like, okay, a guy that we've been playing at full back, you're going to go in the reserves and play him up forward. Like, what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing?
That Massimo kid, apparently he had about
26
touches or something. Yeah. They should be playing straight away. So
why not?
Otherwise, there's no point picking them up.
Why not? Throw them in. We've already been playing with like the 16th youngest. I'd drop Heppel, bring in D'Ambrosio, like have a fast half back with a decent kick on him and see what happens. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe this is just the reality of the rebuild. Half our list is under 35 games. Like we can't expect your Jai Caldwell, who's only played 20 games, and your Archie Perkins, who's played 35, and those guys to just like win games off their own boot every week. It's going to take 2 or 3 years. Like that's the reality of a rebuild. You know?
Okay, what are you all worried about though? I guess is it the players or the fact that they don't know what they're doing, like, and the fact that I can't see a system.
I think this year what I'm worried about, is like there doesn't seem to be any continuity or improvement in our actual game plan. We either don't have a game plan or the game plan just isn't working or we can't execute it, in which case we may as well not have a game plan.
Yeah.
I think like we sort of said, when you compare yourself to a team like Freo, at least last year and the year before, like when you rebuild and you're building a new game plan, like you start with defense, you know, and our zone is so bad. Like we're so easy to move the ball against. And that's been the case all year. And we haven't done anything about it, you know? We haven't, like, I would almost be willing to say, like, fuck the zone. We obviously can't do it. Just go to a man. Just play man on man and just see what happens. Like, just give everyone your responsibility to beat your man. That's all you have to do. You know, see what happens.
Yeah. How are we doing anything different when Worsfold was there, other than the fact that we're trying to play the same kind of setup, but blue collar? Like, we're not seeing any kind of plan. And then if there is a plan, they're not executing it, and that comes on the coaches again.
Yeah.
So either they've got a plan that's unrealistic for the fitness of the team, which it could be another thing as well, which goes to our high performance team, which is maybe why we've got so many injuries, or they're not implementing the right. Yeah, we need to change something up because it's not working.
Well, we have at the moment we have a culture of like minimal effort. And so if the game plan relies on guys in the third quarter busting their gut to get open and run hard and potentially not get rewarded with the ball, that's not a game plan we're going to execute because we don't have a list that's willing to do that right now. Right.
Yeah, I don't know what to say anymore. It's disappointing because
Friday, and it's like they had a pretty big game in terms of injuries against Brisbane. It's like, maybe we're a chance because like they're down 4 players from last week, you know, like this is shit. Like footy is shit when it's like this, and so you have to rely on hopefully the other team's star players aren't playing so that maybe we have a chance, and we're not going to beat the Saints on a Friday night at Marvel.
If Mackay didn't play, there was a realistic chance we had it. We could have won that game.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
Gave
so.
me enough hope though.
Maybe if Mackay and Kerno and Silvani and keep going on, Cripps and Walsh, maybe if they all didn't play, maybe potentially we might have won. Probably still wouldn't. All right. It's been a long year, man. It's been a long year and it's going to keep getting longer. The only positive that I can see looking forward is that like North Melbourne are in even worse rabble shape than we are. West Coast also shows zero signs of improvement. And as bad as we are, I need to believe that we're still better than those two sides. So maybe potentially we have another 2 wins. We play those teams back to back. Maybe 2 wins in a row actually gives us a little bit of momentum and we win 1 or 2 more, but we're playing top 8 sides on the run home. Like we've got Sydney again, I think we've got Collingwood again. Like they've just beaten the Prem, like, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day too, like, I don't want to win 6 games of the last 11 games and finish like 12th and be like, oh, we really rectified it towards the end there. Like patch over like all the problems that we've had, get lower picks down the draft order. Like, good. We deserve to be in 16th. We're exactly where we deserve to be playing. We haven't completely lost the plot like North and West Coast, but we're not even like mid-bottom table good this year. Like we're not GWS. We're not Hawthorn,
Yeah, absolutely. We're where we should be at the moment. And yeah, I don't see that changing. These guys, they get a win, they give themselves a pat on the back and they go and party and survive and take some TikToks and feel good about themselves. And then the week after they play even worse. So I don't think we need to worry about momentum.
The problem is West Coast and North are both they've both got the Essendon game circled as like, that's the one. Like that's the game that we can win, That's all we are.
The nice body club.
The nice guys. Dyson Heppel's nice guys.
Yeah. Which makes, I don't understand when we've got a coach like Truck. You hear some of the stories. Gorringe was on one of his podcasts and was saying that when he was playing, he had the same manager as Truck. And he was like, oh, my 2 boys are going to be playing against each other on Saturday night. And he's like, oh, I didn't think Gorringe would get up because he had had his Achilles was flaring up. So apparently, after his manager told him about that, went up to Gorringe before the siren and kicked him in his Achilles and walked away. and made a 23-year-old kid or 22-year-old kid play with already a sore Achilles, extra sore for the whole game because he had some inside information that was flaring up. And, that was the type of player Truck was. He was like, blue collar, hard nosed. And it's just the opposite of what I see our boys doing out there.
Yeah. Which makes it like, I think that's the infuriating thing is like, as supporters, we've bought into the message. Yeah, I want to see that blue collar, high effort, hard nosed football. And, like when you play a Carlton or you play even when you watch a Carlton or you watch a Magpies, like they might lose, but they're going to like go down fucking swinging. Like you look at a Braden Maynard or a Jordan Goey or like these kind of guys that it's like, when they tackle you, it hurts. Like it hurts to get tackled. It's not just a tackle, like they're trying to hurt you, That's to me, like that's what blue collar is. Like that's what I want to see. That's what I want my club to stand for. Like go down fucking swinging. And that's just not what we're doing. I've got some notes here from Lockie. He says, my contribution this week is that we suck. Our game plan is obviously not working. I think the effort is so much better, but we still just look a class behind. So I think
definitely look a class behind. I agree with that.
Summed up, what we're thinking. Look, again, hopefully, like this is just the majority of our list is super young. They're learning, taking learnings from it. Like I think that ultimately we've talked a lot about the disdain that's been on the club since the 2014 Saga era and how much we want to try to shake that off. And maybe Heppel is the last piece of that puzzle where it's like, unfortunately, until he goes, there is still that Moz, it's still hanging around. Sheedy coming out this week and sort of saying the AFL, like, should apologize to Essendon. It's like, I fucking agree with him. But at the same time, like for him to come out and say that also shows that it's still something that's lingering around the walls at the hangar. There's still like some sort of like, something that is hard to shake and maybe it will take like that kind of those senior players that were around at the time, even when they were young, like Hurley and Heppel. It's like it's got to go with them, and while they're around, unfortunately, like so is that. Maybe
we do need that new era to come through. Like you said, Hurley, he's not going to play again anyway. So Hurley goes, Heppel goes. that's the last. I can't think of anyone else that would have still been at the club in that generation. You know, I guess people like Parrish and stuff were there for that first year. Yeah, but I don't think it really would have affected them too much. But we need that.
Here's a question for you. Do you say we get pick 3 in the draft this year? Do you take pick 3 and trade it for like 2 players that are like 150 plus gamers to get 3 years out of them?
I personally would, yeah. I want, it comes with some. I want to get someone with maturity and standards, and then like some sort of leadership. I know they're going to be hard to find. I said at the start of the year that I really wanted. I hope we still went after what's his face from Bulldogs we went after a couple of years ago. Dunkley. Someone that brings standards to the club. Someone that's going to have maturity. If we bring someone like that over, and then apparently he's going to go to Adelaide, they reckon now, because he wants to go to Adelaide, misses or something. We get someone like him, and then get someone like Tex Walker to come over for a few years, get some maturity in. Or maybe you just go, okay, let's back in the next generation and go, okay, let's start a new leadership group. It's going to be super young, like something like the GWS do. I don't like multiple captains, but if you don't have many other options, and maybe you do make a little leadership group with a younger crew of the generations coming through, like the 3 draft picks we had, some sort of connection with the younger class of character.
I reckon Merritt has to fucking just like nut up and take it. You're the most senior player here. You're the one that drives the highest standards. You need to step up. Take it. It's yours. Like there's no one else ready to take it on. It has to be you. Rise to the occasion.
I think that's what I'm worried about. Is he's the only person at the club that can possibly ride up and do it. And I don't think he's good enough as a leader. I think he's going to be same as Heppel. Like show good standards, but not actually lead.
Yeah, I think if we do go to the trade table, I think you almost need to look not so much even at the actual player that you're bringing over, but like the club that you're bringing them over from.
Yeah.
There's no point us going after anyone from GWS or a Gold Coast. Like you need to be going after someone at Brisbane or someone at Freo or the Dogs or Collingwood or Carlton.
Yeah.
Someone that's got that culture that we're trying to bring them in here and be like, part of the deal is that you like are teaching us how it's done, 150 games, 160 games, probably 27, 28, and go from there and see what happens and throw them, almost straight into the leadership group, because that's the style we're trying to emulate.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, if we keep going, mate, I'm going to have a terrible week. But
yeah, me too.
We'll leave it there, and we'll chat on Thursday night once the team list is revealed for our clash against St Kilda. And we'll also go through the girls as well. We've had a good win against the Hawks. Fucking smoked them in the qualifying final, so they go through to the next stage too.
Winners, flags.
At least you get one flag hanging up at the hangar this year. All right, mate.
Yeah.
Have a good week. We'll chat soon.
See you, bud.